Bitcoin is at a crucial point right now, given that it's trading close to a resistance point, and I'm going to take a look at the chart in a moment because I also want to talk about the Injective chart and where I think it's going to go. Again, when I say I think, it's always probabilities because you can never be too sure with anything in the market. Nobody can guarantee you anything. It's all about probabilities. There's a higher probability or a smaller probability of something happening, but there's no guarantees. Ethereum is doing quite well as well, 2,642 right now. Not as good as it should have done, of course, because the Ethereum Foundation has been selling a lot of ETH. I know there's been a lot of drama on X about that and quite a bit of FUD. And I think that's what's holding Ethereum back from doing well and to be trading around 3K as it should potentially have given Bitcoin's current price if we were to be on par with Bitcoin like it used to be. Now, BNB is also doing quite okay, close to $600. Solana, 155. People are a bit bearish on Solana nowadays. By the way, they're saying that the capital is moving away from Solana into SUI, which has been performing extremely well. XRP, 54 cents. Doge, 14 cents. Tron, which is still around. I'm surprised it's still around. This should just disappear, to be fair. Although, I do have to say that USDT is handy because of the $1 transfer fee when you're transferring USDT across exchanges that support Tron. Toncoin has not recovered since the founder was arrested. It's still down in the low $5 area. It used to be $7 before the arrest news. So it probably would have been around $6.80 to $7 now, given Bitcoin's price, if that wouldn't have happened. So it's probably going to be a struggle to see Toncoin recover. But if things do turn out okay, I think, Ton is going to eventually recover. Cardano's 35 cents. Again, not doing too well given it's so far away from its all-time high. Avalanche, $27.95. Shiba Inu still around, still doing okay. Chainlink, $11.35, still doing good. Near Protocol, I'm not going to look at Polkadot because this is just not doing okay. There's so much treasury spending going on, so much inflation. I know they're trying to fix the inflation problem, but yeah, 441, it's struggling to even get back to $5 given Bitcoin's price. So that pretty much tells you that what's going on there, Near Protocol, $4.78, doing okay-ish. This usually does do quite well when there are bullish news. And then SUI, which is the biggest winner of September and October, $2.06. Given that this was like 50 cents not too long ago, this has put in a 4x, which is amazing, especially for those who bought the dip. I wanted to buy some SUI as well when it was below $1, but I was kind of worried that it would take much longer for the ecosystem to move because things were just not going that great. And a lot of the projects building on SUI were a lot of ones that failed in other ecosystems. And then they moved to SUI. And then there were some newer ones as well, which are pretty much repeating the same stuff that we've seen on Cosmos and on Ethereum. So I didn't think that it's gonna trigger a major growth, although I did know that the market makers and the VCs would support it. I just did think it would take longer. I thought it would take a bigger catalyst for SUI to grow, but it looks like I was wrong. It looks like when they target something, market makers will just perform wonders on them. So yeah, we'll have to see how things go. Aptos is doing okay as well, $9.72. Next, I want to look at the chart here for Injective. So as you can see, Injective is currently trading at just under $22 because they did get listed on Korea's largest exchange, Upbit, and that caused this spike here. As you can see, boom, this big wick here, which took it from $20 all the way up to $23.50, and then it triggered a bit of an uptrend momentum there because of that. Of course, Bitcoin going up is also a trigger of Injective going up, but if we look overall, Injective is still on a downtrend. This is on the 4-hour chart, and this is where you see the reality, okay? This is when we had that major pump back in March where Injective hit that all-time high of close to $53 here, and then ever since then Injective has just been on a downtrend, right? It dipped all the way down to $19, then it had a major pump to $32, which was quite big, then again a huge swing down. So all the swings are really big, as you can see on the 4-hour chart where we get that big picture. Then it had a big swing again here, not as big as the last one, of course, but then as soon as it had this low swing here to 1760, it went all the way up to 2740. So not a huge swing here. Then again, for anyone being patient enough and waiting about a week, they would see another swing down, and then they could enter here once it starts going back up. Probably not around 14, but maybe around 15, 50, $16 when you see it starting to go up because of its historical movements here. So it was a pretty clear sign here that you would see another swing up. Again, you wouldn't be guaranteed to see a swing up to these levels, because as you can see, it has put in lower highs each time. Okay, lower than the last one, lower than the last high, and lower than the last high. Of course, even lower than the last high here. But we did get a bigger move here thanks to Bitcoin, which took it to 2460. But again, lower than this last high here that we've seen. So what could be happening here? Well, I think that what could be happening is that we may see something similar to this here, and then we'll potentially see this go down again. I'm not trying to be bearish, but it just looks like it's going to do that depending on Bitcoin. And the reason why I'm not buying Injective right now, and again, I'm a huge supporter of Injective. If you've been watching this channel, you know how much I like it, because you can really make money from these swings. At least I can. Again, not financial advice. This is just me without leverage trading this. Okay, this is just spot trading. This is just buying, flipping, basically buying low, selling high. Okay, when you see these big swings, because of the 4-hour chart here, it gives us plenty of time to act upon this. Sometimes you can act earlier, right? I mean, if you need the funding or something, you know, if you're riding it from here and you see it get to maybe here, you know, that's a pretty decent gain. So, you know, why take the risk and wait for it to go back down when you can just exit here? Of course, you can be giving away profits, because, you know, we have seen this happen, but you can never be too sure, right? I mean, it could just revisit the same high as the last time and then just dip back down, for all we know. There's no guarantees. But again, if we look here, you could see that the high that is put in here was much lower than these two, right? So this one is kind of the bigger move here, similar to this one, whereas these ones are the smaller moves in between. So I think this is, again, one of those in-between moves. But one thing we got to notice here, and we got to keep in mind that, you know, trends do change. So it's eventually going to go back up. It's eventually going to reach that $50 again, probably even break that. Is the bottom, right? Look at the lower lows here. So we've had lower lows each time here, but then here, things started to change. It's kind of like we found the bottom, right? We got to $14 back in August, but then when we got to September, you know, it dipped only to like $15 here, right? It didn't go lower than the last low. So that means that the trend is not necessarily continuing. However, we don't have enough confirmation. We just have enough confirmation that it is holding that support area quite well. So if it does revisit that support area, we need to pay close attention here around the $16 to $17 area. If this holds, perhaps even $18, right? If this holds, and then it's going to continue to go back up and it's not going to go lower, then that is a bullish sign of a trend reversal. Okay, and this is on the 4-hour chart. So this is going to probably take like maybe a couple of days, maybe even a week for this to happen. But it will happen, and we'll definitely know what's going to happen. Again, it is dependent on Bitcoin. But my other concern here is that not only did the trend change, which should signify that this is bullish and there would be a higher probability of, you know, taking a chance here for me to enter here on the next small pullback here, just to enter and hope that, you know, this does actually move higher and it's going to put in a higher high than this one, which means that it should probably get to $29 on $30. You know, all of a sudden it could happen, of course. But my concern is that Bitcoin is on an uptrend, and Bitcoin's in an uptrend, and it's at the resistance level here, 68K. The last time it was like 69.5K. So around this area here is its resistance level. So as you can see, it has lost momentum here. It tried, it went below, it went a bit higher, it went below. So we'll have to see what happens. Tomorrow being Sunday, you know, things might be playing out a bit. We may see it stick around this area for a bit, maybe making a few more attempts. But if Bitcoin does dip back down, you know, we could see it close to around 60K where we had seen it before, okay? And maybe even as bad as 55K. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but with the presidential elections coming up, it could be that it's going to be swinging sideways for a while because there's still, what, like a month left before the US presidential elections. And not just that, but other presidential elections in other countries as well, not just in the US, but the US one is considered the most important, you know? So, yeah, we'll have to see how things go. Again, it is holding well here. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to revisit this 60K region, but there is a high probability. And the reason I say high probability is because every time it had these major swings up, it always pulled back, right? Major swing up, pulled back, major swing up, pulled back. So when the swings are high like this and sudden, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to continue. Of course, it could go higher. It could go to like 71K, 72K, but there's always some big pullback as well with Bitcoin. So that big pullback could be to 66K, right around here. This could act as support next time if this does go higher. But if this doesn't go higher, then it could just pull back here and we could revisit 60K once again. So Now you see what my concern is. If it does go to 60K, that would mean that it would invalidate this higher low here, and this could just be something temporary. It would still mean that this rule wasn't broken, right? And by this rule, I mean higher high. We need to see a higher high. We need to see this break this last high that we've seen here, which is $28. So if this goes to $30 and Bitcoin sticks around 68, 70K, then it is bullish for Injective. So even if Bitcoin does dip a bit, it doesn't mean that the trend has changed. It will just mean we're going to see a low, but a higher low, okay? A higher low than this low here, which means instead of $18.70, we're probably going to see $21, maybe because it's going to be this area here, which is going to act as support, perhaps even $23 as the new low. And then it's going to continue to move higher when Bitcoin moves higher, right? So like I'm saying here, this is a crucial moment for Injective, a crucial decision moment, which I'm going to watch very closely because I do want to make sure that I get into this and I ride it if the trend does change, because I want to be capitalizing on this and to see this go to $35, maybe $40, maybe even $50 or higher if Bitcoin goes into bull mode once again. Again, it's hard to say. I know people are speculating, but this is just what we can tell by the chart. And so right now, the probability does show us that the trend is changing, but it's not confirmed 100% yet because of these higher highs not being put in yet. We need to see a new higher high here. So that's why I sold my Injective and I'm now waiting for that pullback. And as soon as I see it start to move back up again, I'm going to make an entry. Because again, even if this does go lower, even if this does revisit $15 or $16, then I see it move back up, it's very likely that this is going to at least revisit $20 at some point. Even if it was to dip even lower, even if it was to go to $13, it's eventually going to go to $17, $18, even $19, right? This area here. It always does, right? It always moves like this. Injective shows this kind of movement. It's unlike other cryptocurrencies, which are just stable and there's no action whatsoever, because there is a lot of activity when it comes to Injective. So that's why we're seeing all these major swings here. So yeah, I just wanted to drop this quick video and just kind of give you my thoughts that the trend does seem to be changing. It's given us some signs here, but not enough confirmation, okay? And because Bitcoin is so high right now and Injective is still not doing that great given Bitcoin's price. When Bitcoin was last at 69K, Injective was $27, This is a bit concerning, to be fair, right? This was in July. So Bitcoin has just put in more dominance against Injective. It's pretty clear that it has done that. And because of that, we need to wait for more confirmation. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.